the notice of final action, there was no cap that was given on the density itself. But there was a discussion that had a discussion about 2,150. I believe it's in this community it's under the 2,100, but it's above 2,000, somewhere in that number in there. So that is one of the issues that we have as far as, hey, there's a certain number in here that was discussed. But on the flip side also, as I said, there's no final condition that required a density cap.
Hello, I'm Camilla Malone at 5029 Alfingo Street. My question also is two-part, and I don't know if you've already answered this in different words, so I need to ask this. Is the golf course losing money, or is it just not making enough money to satisfy the owner? And the reason that I'm asking that is that can our HOA, who really represent all of the residents, purchase the golf course if a study indicates that it's feasible?
I do not know if the golf course is making money or not, and have not seen their books, and I don't know if they're required to provide the board or the HOA any of their financials. But that is something that would be requested and discussed if discussions were opened up for any type of development with the golf course itself, or if there was an assessment discussion or whatever, you'd want to have an idea of what the financial situation is.
Thank you.
Okay, Jim Androjack, 4560 De Romanza. Does the board, can they make a decision without a vote of the community? Because in my opinion, we will not get the 1,501 votes for anything. Don't everybody jump up at once and answer this. This is also for the board members.
According to our CC&Rs, there are certain things that we must have a vote of the community. Other things do not require a vote of the community. Will we decide as a board which way we want to go? Yes. Will we engage the community? For certain. We've always said that. We will engage the community everything we do. No does not mean necessarily a vote.
I'd also like to make the
Certain things we can and
statement.
certain things we cannot.
I'd also like to make the statement, in my opinion, we have to negotiate with Dr. Lee. He has a royal straight flush and we have aces and eights.
Hello. Yeah. Paul Hurst, 10495, Beaver Dee, Oregon. I mentioned last week's meeting about getting an audit, somebody audit their books so we know if they're making money. And if they start making money, then we lower our, okay. What I want to know is, really, is it feasible for them to build houses on all of the golf course? There's so many spots that are landlocked, so they take some of it and develop it where they can. Then how will they get access to the other part of the golf course, keep the golf course free? They're either going to, the parts is landlocked because there's houses all the way around it. They can't get sewer, they can't get power.
Yeah, and to answer that, the gentleman that was in the back mentioned that he's a builder. He brought up issues that will be and should be discussed. What we call those are restraints on property, and those restraints or constraints on the property itself prohibit you at times to develop certain areas because of drainage, because of sewer, or because of whatever issue. Like he mentioned, if you're building lift stations for development, that's fairly costly to build a lift station. So there are issues that need to be reviewed. And I believe the commissioner mentioned earlier, there are so many technical studies that need to be done to understand what can and cannot be developed out there. Because there's some property that is out there that probably cannot be developed for residential.
So would that be a feather in our cap to negotiate? You can't develop the whole golf course.
When you do your due diligence, yes.
What are you going to do with the part that's left over? Let it go to hell?
Jolene Whitehead, 5175 Pensier. Question, in your past experience when the golf course homes have had acceptability. Is there any kind of consideration for the people that are actually on the golf course, pay their premium? Is it still standard rules for how many feet before another home can be constructed? Or is there anything given to homeowners that there has to be a wider berth before a home is built?
And that's an excellent question with respect to buffering for the people who live up adjacent to the golf course. What I would highly recommend in any negotiation is you get a buffer belt, and we call it buffer area there. And it depends. It depends on the topography, it depends on the existing conditions that are out there, but there is no way I would recommend that a house be abutting another house that was on the golf course there. If anything, that is open for negotiations. I know from representing the developer side that that's always there, and I know from always dealing with Commissioner Brager, that's one of her biggest pet peeves is the size of trees and the amount of trees and what they are and so on. So that is a very good point, and that is something as part of the leverage to give and take that you want to look at as far as the buffering. So there is no rule that you got to have 10 feet or 20 feet or 50 feet. It depends on circumstances and what you want to negotiate in there. Some people look at trails, but whatever it is, there's a buffering in there that you definitely want to look at.
Orel? Orel Gibson, Magira Place. I'd like to ask a personal question to our two invited guests, and they might not like to give an answer to this. You talked about our beautiful community, and I think we'd all agree we have one of the nicest communities that you have ever been into. Our HOA fees are, correct me if I'm wrong, $2.25 a quarter. A month, sorry, yes, $2.25 a month. Are these low in comparison to other HOAs, remembering the facilities that are available to all our residents, whether they use them or not? Are our HOA dues comparatively low?
I'll give you a preview of my As I See It article for the June Style. It's called More Bang for the Buck Than You'll Ever See Anywhere Else.
Thank you, thank you. It's what I wanted to make sure, because if we could tie Dr. Lee and his company into the $300,000 for 1, 2, 3 years, which I thought which I understood from Tom last week was possible. If we could tie them into that $300,000 for 1, 2, 3 years and avoid all the physical and emotional distress that it will cause to people who have properties here, would you pay $12 a month to avoid that? I'm asking you two, our invited guests.
I already pay a lot. I pay almost what you do and only have a gate and an association to a degree. So I don't have a golf course, or I have my own swimming pool. For the $12.50, if I lived in here and you want an honest answer, depending on the contract that could be written and what your organization does for you, if you had a solid 3 years, then in year 4, what happens? So I think you have to look at this futuristically to make sure what you're going to do so that you're prepared in year 4 or year 2 or year 3. So I don't want to be ambiguous in this answer, but it really depends on what you want to hold on to now, or is it forever? And that's what you need to look at. So before you make that decision, what can you get from the contract once they speak with the developer, the owner of the golf course, and how solid is that for you, or is that not enough?
And can I ask the other part of my question?
Or would I pay the $12.50? If I knew that I had a solid... Oh, to the attorney.
I'm standing here and saying I've done this 20-something plus years. I've had hundreds and hundreds of neighborhood meetings. That was the toughest question anybody's asked. So I want to defer and say I'm going to follow Commissioner Brager, but no, I'll give you a little bit of a little different look on this. I think in the end, I may have to go that route, but my concern is it's a risk versus reward, okay? And how much money am I willing to risk, understanding, look, I negotiate, and I see people negotiate all day long, and I see people handshake agreements, put it in writing, and then 3 weeks later, somebody's coming back and telling me they want to change the deal points, okay? So I'm suspect about that, but like I said, there's a lot of pros and cons as I'm answering that. And in the end, it's really up, well, I guess if you're asking me, I may be forced to doing it depending on the options that are on the table. But I can tell you, I would definitely not want to go litigate because I'm not spending time, money, effort, and the anguish to deal with it. So it's an option you gotta look at.
Can I ask part two of my question? And that was many of us on the golf course, we have the floodplains, and a lot of people have felt confident that nobody could build or fill in, but am I hearing that with the proper environmental study, it may be possible to fill in those floodplains?
I'll answer that because I know we've dealt with other issues on golf courses, because sometimes those golf courses are built with the idea of conveying the water, the drainage that comes through the property. So unless they're willing to pipe it and build, and then you can't really build over it, you got to put streets on it, it becomes too difficult. It's very difficult. I can't say you can't do it, but it becomes cost prohibitive to start putting pipe in and building over it. I don't see that happening. If it's there, it's probably going to stay there for the most part.
Fred Wilson, Spring 4903 Pieta Court. I have a couple of questions. One, can we regulate or do we regulate the curb cuts in the streets and also wall cuts? Cut in the wall, since on the other side of Tropicana, he has no street access except to our streets. Also, do we regulate the height of a building? And also, do we regulate the footprint on a piece of property that a building can occupy? And do we also not allow parking on any streets and or parking lots overnight? That would be it.
I'll answer. And actually, I'm looking at Commissioner Brager because I feel like she does this to me every other week with a home builder that I represent. So the answer is yes. Typically what happens is when you come in, the county commission regulates sometimes single-story, two-story homes, lot sizes, lot widths. You're dealing with, even times that we've dealt with on the developer side, the type of homes that you're bringing in for square footages that have been regulated, okay? So to answer your question, yes, you can regulate, you can discuss and condition those, and I'm sure the curb cuts and the wall issue is a part of the association, so that's subject to the association approval.
Well, I guess my question is, do we now regulate curb cuts and wall cuts?
Yeah, the regulations would be your board itself as the HOA to regulate what can be cut, what cannot be cut.
Okay, and also just one last statement. I just think that the fairest way to allocate costs, if we do pay the $300,000, is based on the assessed valuation of each individual's home. I don't know if that's legal.
Good evening. My name is Carl. My name is Carmine, 4504 Pure Bella Boulevard. I'm a Johnny-come-lately in this community, but I've been in this world a long time, 90 years. What I'd like to say is this. If this man, I heard so many rumors. One, he wanted us to buy the property that's behind our home what's left or right, but only so deep. Two, he wanted to build houses, but I understand he can only build them at a place you people call the lake, outside this community center. And if that's so, where is the protection from the security people for us that we're a separate entity from him? And there was a third one, but my apologies, I forgot. Break the flow. I didn't move here. I lost a home in Long Island, New York, from the storm. I lost everything I owned. I'm not crying. It happened, it happened. That's God's will. But now I'm rebuilding here. For 4.5 years we've been killing ourselves. Now out of the clear blue sky, here comes this Mr. Lee. He's a realtor. And what he's doing is trying to take our money right out of our pocket. You know what he's doing? He's on my payroll now. That's another person I gotta pay. Fine, if I gotta pay so the people can enjoy golf, that's great. Now, I've talked enough, but I don't care for the idea, with your apologies to you, sir. Why should the board have the last word? Why shouldn't these people have the last word? I live in the house, I'm paying the bills. Excuse my expression, who the hell are you people to make my
Hi, John again. It was thrown around about, can we, gentlemen over here, about do we need a 75% vote to pay for not an assessment for maintenance? And I'm sure the board has this on page 33, it's a third paragraph. It says association may maintain other property which it does not own, including without limitation, property dedicated to the public, if the board and directors determine that such maintenance is necessary or desirable to maintain the community's standards. Now, having said that, if we target and dictate where our $300,000 is going to go, that's part of this paragraph, I believe. Now, you haven't read it as as a land use attorney, and I don't know if our HOA attorney's read it. Can anybody answer if that is true? Do we need an assessment if we target money for maintenance under our CC&Rs?
That is a question that we have been putting to our HOA attorney.
Okay.
There are many parts of the CC&Rs that looks like it might say one thing or it might say another, and we are pressing very hard with our own HOA attorney to see what are the tort liabilities of interpreting something this way or that way. But as far as I'm concerned, there is nothing in black and white. When you're dealing with the CC&Rs, it's how you want to interpret it, how you want to use them, what liabilities you are exposing yourself to, and we are relying on our HOA attorney for guidance on all those matters.
And if we can, if the best thing to do here is to get Dr. Lee to a table, negotiate a deal, and get it done. You're going to spend $1 million or $2 million in attorney fees to fight this thing. It's extortion, but it's a very small amount to pay for a good end result.
Robert Lessort, 4371 Margot Cantata. it looks to me like there are various degrees of ease or difficulty in developing various parts. Have we done an analysis to say what's the low-hanging fruit for Dr. Lee? What isn't? What can he sell the plots that he could develop easily for? What would he give up in not being able to develop parts of these things? We should know that stuff before we sit down at the table with him. If we're going to negotiate, we need to know those things. Has anybody done that kind of analysis?
Now, that is a part of the action plan, is based off the information that we get, and we've discussed this as, there are some consultants that you are going to need to hire to give you those answers. So that's a part of that action plan, yes.
Thank you.
This is a question for the board. It's my understanding the Lee LLC has agreed to provide financials, and I think it would behoove us to not only acquire those, but to have a forensic analysis made. And I guess my question would be, what if those financials disclosed that they had either a management fee or executive salaries that perhaps ran into the hundreds of thousands, that would give them the return on their investment that they say that they're seeking, which is 5%. And if we had that information, to me, that should have been acquired and analyzed long before we even started having these town meetings and discussing easements and floodplains and this type of thing. Could you give us an update on where we are with acquiring those financials and getting them analyzed as to whether or not they are really making a profit or a loss that meets their return analysis?
We have asked for financials. We have received some spreadsheets. This is an LLC. Either you or I could produce those spreadsheets. Some people have said it doesn't make any difference if he's profitable or not. If he tells us to continue the golf course, he needs our assistance. That's what he's telling us.
Wait a minute. If we can verify that he's making a reasonable return on his investment, one that he has said that he is seeking, which is 5%, why would we enrich him beyond that point? I mean, I think it's ludicrous for us not to have this information before we waste a lot more time on doing what we're doing. I mean, if they've agreed, and it's my recollection in the notes that the financials were requested from the Lee LLC and they had agreed to get them, why can't we get those and have a good analysis made of them?
We have requested the financials, and I believe, we have received financials. The financials previously have been restricted to board members. We have asked if our finance committee could be allowed to review those financials and come up with their own analysis. Do we have an answer? And our CPA has reviewed the statements. Yeah, well, that's the problem. These aren't certified. But yes, we have received financials, and yes, they are being analyzed by our finance committee and CPA.
Gary Cohen, Regala Bello. First of all, I've heard so much conversation in this room that I used to hear in my law office, okay? There's just all these ideas floating around, and we need a strategy. And I think a knee-jerk reaction is what I'm afraid of might happen. And I have faith in the board that you will not do that. So I've heard time from the commissioner is, you're going to be gone in potentially 2 years. That becomes a part of the analysis, but it doesn't become the controlling factor. The controlling factor is, we have to look at our assets. Our assets being, what do we have to take to this deal table? Because that's the world I lived in, was deals. Okay? So there's value for everybody at that deal table. And having the commissioner may not be a value that we may not be able to have. But I think time, right now, is on our side. And the fact he's come to us is on our side. So I've heard the commissioner and I've heard legal counsel talk about everything that we can do if we do residential. But what about what's going on outside of Siena right now? What about all the massive development that's going on, which potentially will bring new people to this golf course? So rather than knee-jerking and saying, we're going to talk to them about residential or whatever, I think we need to get to that table, and the term I would use, it would be the best discovery table we've ever been at. And we can conduct discovery at that table, and we can find out answers to everything everybody's asking about with our plan in front of us. But also, more importantly, is controlling the situation as much as we can. And the way we control this situation is to buy the time, people. You've got to buy the time. Because in 2 years, if all of a sudden, all this massive development going on around here causes that golf course to be filled with people playing it, it is a public course. When they start playing that course, the revenues are going to go up. And you don't want to be short-sighted. So, Commissioner, I respect what you said, and I understand you said we can't let this hang over our head. But when we look around our neighborhood and all the other golf courses that you guys have dealt with, was there this much development going on, all this pent-up development going on with people who are going to be moving very close to this golf course, who might utilize this golf course? And my other question would be, is in all the situations you've dealt with, did the owner come to the people and say, I need X amount of dollars? He didn't say, I need you to fully subsidize this golf course or I'm shutting it down and I'm going to stop watering the greens. He gave a number, as I understand it. Well, that number tells me he's interested in probably maintaining this golf course because he knows on the other side of the fence he has to deal with a major development problem. So we need to use the value of the time. I didn't mean to lecture here, but I've listened to this and I just believe strategically we have some things that we can use, but we need to take them to the deal table and we need to explore and do our discovery at a very inexpensive cost, because discovery at a deal table can be done a lot less than formal legal discovery with motions and pleadings and everything else. So those are the questions I would ask.
I do want to restate what I said before. I said if you chose to go down the residential path, that's the only time I come into play. So if you chose to do that, I negotiate well. Builders have a high respect level with me, and you're right, I have less than 2 years because of term limits. But it doesn't mean you just disappear and leave people, you know, in a lurch. I will know who the next commissioner is. But you have a lot of decisions, as we've all said. There is other things on the table, and you have to discern what does the majority want to do and what does your board lead you in all the discovery that they make. So you have a lot of steps to go yet.
So, Carol Hartman, a firm Hartman Realty. I almost don't need a microphone, thank you. 10448 Mezzanino Court. Why don't we buy the damn golf course, make him carry the note, give him a large down payment, and lease the golf course? What about that option? Come on, I'm game, money talks. Make him carry the note for a long term. What would you want with that?
That is an option that is on the menu of list of choices that you have, yes.
And Grandpa, I'll pay your $12.50 a month. You're 98, you deserve it. Don't live to 150 because I'll probably kill you. Thank you. Good to see me.
Steve Foreman, 1038 Riva de Destino. Counselor, there are 2,001 homes in this community. You are representing 2,001 homes, plus the 5 gentlemen that are sitting at the front desk. We don't even know what direction the board wants to go. They haven't told us anything, okay? We like to know what they want. They know what we want because we did a survey. But based on the options that Dr. Lee gave us, he gave us 6 or 7 options that you gentlemen at the, from the board read to us last week. You haven't mentioned, or maybe did one or two of those options. If you, as my attorney, sitting in a room with you right now, based on your knowledge of what's happened or what's going on, give me your decision, what would you do right now?
First step is what we're doing here. You got to gather the information, your due diligence. And I've said this and we've talked amongst the board. The board it needs to hear from you. And they're proactive regardless of what you think. And I respect the gentleman here that what he mentioned is what we're doing here is trying to get that information input from you. And I've been talking to Arn from day one. They want to get stuff out quickly as possible, which is good news is because we're having these meetings. Without these meetings, we don't get the feedback of what directions that, generally speaking, people are looking to go. Then we get together, we figure out our options, we have our consultants that are lined up to go do some of the due diligence, do some of the things. And as the gentleman mentioned here, you get your strategy and you figure out all of your assets. Because there are some leverage points here, and there's some leverage on the other side, but the fact of the matter is we need to get in there and figure out, at the end of the day, what is the best scenario for everybody. So this is the early stages, and the good news is if this board waited for another 6 weeks and just had those discussions, came back, you'd probably be upset that you were 6 weeks in the dark without knowing what's going on. So it's a delicate balance, but I think the right decision's being made here, which is give the input, ask the questions, gather the intel, come up with a plan, and get ready to attack. That's the way you need to deal with this issue.
Hi, I'm Mary Ward, 4610 De Niro. My question is really just for Arn. It's really more of a suggestion. I think around 4 o'clock this afternoon, an email went out reminding everyone that the survey needed to be answered if people hadn't done it, and it had to be finished by 10 o'clock tonight. I personally really care about this issue, but I didn't fill out the survey because I wanted the type of information that I received tonight. I came in thinking one thing and I'm leaving thinking another. I think there might be other people just like me. Also, there might be people who weren't here tonight who will want to watch the video before they make their decision on how they feel. So I'm asking, I know we want to move fast, but could there be an extension on that? Some people might not even check their email again until tomorrow morning.
It is true that we have extended the deadline for turning in your survey to 10 o'clock tonight. And please bring those surveys in if you want to fill them out. This was not a vote, remember. It was a survey to get the general sentiment of the community and also to get your ideas. Those surveys, and there are hundreds of them now, are filled with good ideas. Yes, they have been analyzed a little bit as we go along. There's our analyzer right there in Tammy, and we will have those available for everybody to see. But all the board wants to read through all these things. There's a lot of good ideas. We are still at that idea gathering stage. If you want to submit your ideas after the 10 o'clock deadline tonight, please send an email to any one of us on the board. We do want to hear from you.
Hello, Council. My name is Betty Brandt. I live at 5315 Giorno Court. I've lived here 17 years. And when the builder was building everything, the golf course was beautiful. All the water features were filled. We had grass everywhere. When Dr. Lee took over, the grass went away. And we started having dead plants everywhere.